A visibly swollen Donald Trump stunned an Oval Office full of reporters, as well as the Iraqi prime minister, by the way, struggled to speak and really left the press corps baffled based on the things that he said. Donald Trump did welcome the prime minister of Iraq to the White House yesterday, and he started with his whole he's young and he's handsome thing, which is one of these jokes Trump likes to tell when he has athletes at the White House or whoever else. But again, with Trump, there's always some reality to everything he says. Nothing is just a joke. And it goes to one of Donald Trump's greatest insecurities, of course, which is that he is not the best looking, fittest guy that is out there.
The new prime minister, he's a great leader. I think he's going to be there for a long period of time. And it's great to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And he's a young man. He's young and he's handsome, which I don't like. I'm not happy about it.
I would be so curious as to whether Trump even knows this guy's name, quite frankly. Asked a question about Iran, a visibly confused Trump starts talking about relations between Iraq and American oil companies. And at this point, people in the room started to realize, oh no, is he sundowning early today? This doesn't seem like a good day for Trump.
Sir, is the military attack on Iran, is this a strategy to bring him back to the table? Or is it to degrade them so the regime will eventually fall?
Well, we don't think we need the military there anymore. It's a very a big operation. And what we do have is the oil companies are all going in now, and they're doing partnerships with Iraq, and they're getting along very well. The relationship is a whole big relationship where we don't need the military there. We're there to help them. Right. We're there to protect them if need be, but we don't think that's going to be necessary. And their primary, I consider an opponent. They might have considered a friend, but I consider that an opponent was Iran, was a big burden on Iran.
Rumor has it Donald Trump is still answering this question today and still has not actually addressed the substance. Consider how often Donald Trump is misunderstanding questions and statements. And there's two concurrent issues here. It's been reported on extensively now that Trump is really struggling to hear. Not something we make fun of, right? It's just sometimes hearing can decline with age. Trump is 80. And sometimes Trump just can't hear the questions. And then sometimes Trump doesn't understand the questions. That's another thing that's going on. But here's a question about Iran, talks about Iraq and oil companies. It's all very strange. Then the topic of inflation came up, and Donald Trump said inflation's over. We've solved it. And he even looks into the camera and says, remember that for these midterms, inflation is done.
Inflation slowed to 3.5%.
Yeah, thank you.
Will this trend hold now that strikes on Iran?
I think so. I think it's going to, inflation's down. We inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years. It was the worst in the history of our country from Biden, Sleepy Joe. He might have been sleepy, but boy, he could create inflation like nobody. And I inherited that, and I got blamed for it, and it's not my fault. We are putting it to sleep. And we've done a great job, Scott and Howard and Marco and even Pete, because he's watching his dollars, right? But they've done a fantastic job. We've all done a fantastic job. So we had the worst inflation in history and the history of our country. I mean, we had months where it was 9 and 10%. And now we have a report just came out. It was just released. Thank you for bringing it up. But the report was incredible. Inflation is way down. That means prices are coming way down. And we're doing a great job. Remember that for the midterms. I say to that camera, remember that because nobody else could do it.
Nobody could do it. By the way, inflation is up from when Trump was sworn back in. And you don't have to take my word for it, as I always encourage people to do. Just go and check the data. We have inflation data. And when Donald Trump took over in January of 2025, inflation was 3%, 2.8%. So sort of in there because Trump took over at the end of January. It went all the way up to 4.2% in May and then is now down at 3.5%, all higher than the desired target and all higher than the inflation rate when Joe Biden left office. Just the facts. Don't take my word for it. Donald Trump asked about his taco, his chickening out on the Strait of Hormuz and the 20% fee. He goes, listen, people called me. kings called me, emirs called me, and they said, we don't want this. Let's do it a different way. They called me and they said, sir, grown men, tough men with tears in their eyes. And they saluted. And I said, well, we'll do it a little differently.
President Trump.
Thank you, President Trump. I have two questions. I was wondering if you could explain your changing thinking on the Strait of Hormuz, applying a 20% fee.
Thinking.
How did you get to the decision?
I like
you just
that.
Yeah,
announced?
so when I put that out yesterday, because we've been doing that for many, many years, it was never fair to me that we would be guarding the strait when we basically don't take anything, we don't need the oil at all. And it wasn't important for us, but it was important for allies. It was important for people that we get along with very well, including the major Gulf state countries. So I put it out yesterday. I thought it was good. I was called by different people, different countries, kings and emirs and
Translation, I'm a pushover.
all of the people that we all know and we all love, and they've been very strong partners. And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars and continue our record setting, because there's never been a time like this for the United States, with the factories, with the plants, with everything else. And we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that, actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the strait or for any other straight relationship in terms of other sections of the world. I don't think anybody should be really in that position. But
Trump wants never to pay a fee for straight relationships. Sort of an interesting revelation there. Listen, the translation is Trump's a pushover, combined with he didn't even really understand what he was doing or why it was a bad idea. That's the bottom line. Trump asked about the FBI being involved in investigating Lindsey Graham's death. And he goes, there's conspiracy theories, but I don't think there's anything to them.
I could also ask, are you aware of why the FBI is looking into Senator Graham's death? Have you gotten any updates on why they were at his home?
Well, I don't know why, because I think, he had a problem. His father had a very similar problem, as you know. It's very unique. At first I heard it was clogged arteries, because he did have clogged arteries. He had a problem with that. He was, I wish he took better care of himself. I say, you can solve that problem, but what happened is actually something that's very hard to detect. It was not related to any blockage. It was a totally different thing. And supposedly, and I've watched all the medical reports, I've had the doctors from the White House come in and explain what happened. And this is something that is almost undetectable. And if it happens, there's not much you can do about it. It sounds unfortunate, but there's not much you can do about it. If you look at his father died of the same thing at about the same age. So there was not much. They say it's almost undetectable. You can detect it by if you have a very bad back. That's a sign. It's a bad sign. So if anybody has a bad back, it's a pretty rough thing to think about. But the fact that's one of the primary signs. And he would tell me he had a bad back. But little did anyone realize it was for that. So, and when that bursts, which it did, it burst, there's not much. So I don't see a lot of evil there. I know there's all sorts of conspiracy theories going along, and I don't think the FBI, I think the FBI is wasting their time if they're doing it.
So Trump is not buying the conspiracy theories around Lindsey Graham's death. Trump's understanding of aortic dissection, by the way, is not exactly in line with the medical science, but that's not a surprise to anybody. Trump is not buying it. And finally, reporters trying to get Trump to give us a little preview of tomorrow night's big national address. And Trump does indicate that it relates to election law. And this reinforces my belief that Donald Trump plans to announce some very serious voter suppression techniques.
Around the world and around the nation are anticipating your big announcement on Thursday night regarding election machines and integrity. Can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect and tell the
Well,
audience?
I'd rather
in
save
America?
it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to
Why
say
should people
also.
watch, though?
But I'd rather save it, but it's really big news.
Yep.
It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too. But
So we are eagerly anticipating and also terrified about the degree of voter suppression and election suppression that Donald Trump plans to announce tomorrow night. When he does it, you know that I will tell you what is announced. Let's talk about suits for a moment. Guys want to look sharp for weddings or work or dinner, or just you don't want to wear jeans one day. But finding menswear that feels classic, modern, and comfortable is pretty difficult. This is why I like our sponsor, Southern Gents. Southern Gents offers refined menswear. They've got suits and blazers, trousers, dress shirts, loafers, all the finishing touches. They've got a great suit collection with single-breasted and double-breasted options. Maybe you need something polished for business, or you've got a summer wedding. Southern Gents has what you need. I got a great single-breasted blazer and pant combo, perfect for a summer wedding I'm going to. The ordering is really straightforward. The shipping was super fast. Go to s-gents.com and use the code Pakman for 10% off your entire order. The link is in the description.